This episode is brought to you by Kiko Socks. With a pair of Kikos, you'll have an experience that keeps you focused on your performance and not your feet. Use our coupon code POD15 for 15% off your order at kikosocks.com.
I hope you guys enjoyed the pod. Be sure to follow us on Instagram or YouTube at podpractice_pod. Email us at show@podpracticepod or listen on Spotify at podpractice. I was like, I was like, I know what he's going to do. He's going to take a step deep, go under, because you were initiating for Jimmy. And I was like, I'm going to fucking blow up that under. And you went deep, under, and then double move deep. And you probably had me by like 10 fucking steps. And Jimmy threw a fucking like first throw goal. And that was it. We didn't win a fucking game at that tournament. Welcome back to another episode of the pod. Today we are joined by Ben Yacht, here with Mikey Ludd. I'm still Alex Atkins. So today's episode is going to be fun because we have two of the nicest assholes you've ever played against. Looking forward to this talk with Ben.
Wait, is Mike one of them or are you one of them?
It's you and Mikey.
I'm just the nicest. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
No, it's you and Mikey, because dude, you should have seen Mikey at Grandmasters, man. Like he'll yell at you.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. In the right element. Yeah, I figured though without Quinn today, I would just bring in another shit talker so you guys I could just sit back and let you talk trash to each other.
No, Ben and I don't talk trash. We've interacted a bunch. It's only nice things. The only people that talk trash to me outside of game scenarios are the Minnesota guys who were mad at me for saying they were garbage at championship weekend. Yeah. It was like fresh off the loss, and I was walking back to the hotel, and some guy who I don't even know who he is. He goes, "Yo, Atkins, you still writing us off?" And I was like, I mean, I didn't even know how to respond. Like, they just lost. So it was like a weird, like, I didn't say anything. I was just like, this is an interesting.
You're that close, guys. You're that close. You almost didn't blow it.
Yeah.
But you pulled through for us.
Yeah. So he inspired me.
I really wanted to see him win.
I honestly, like, I did too, because it would have been better to have like the home crowd there and stuff, because like the crowd was pretty hype for that game. The energy was good for that game. Yeah.
But anyway, like, congrats on the win. We're recording this the Thursday after championship weekend, so fresh off of your third title. Is that right? Back to back.
Yeah, first back to back of any title I've ever won. So that's pretty sick. Feels good.
In your home state.
In my home state.
I'm actually from Minnesota too. From
wow.
Rochester.
Oh. Were your parents doctors or yeah?
No, my dad worked for IBM. That's okay. You either work at the Mayo Clinic or you work for IBM if you live in Rochester, for the listeners.
Got it. Yeah, fun trivia there. I immediately went to Mayo Clinic.
All right, should we ask a little bit about the game? Kins, honestly, I haven't even had a chance to watch your post game, pre game.
I mean, I'm probably the most exciting part of, like, honestly, like the whole finals. Like, I would say,
because it was just
a snooze fest. It was a total snooze fest.
Tell us about Empire a little bit and your 30 game win streak, and is it fun to just keep dumping on the league?
So I forget who it was. It wasn't Gins, but I think it was Toner at the post game thing. It was like, so you've won 30 games, 2 championships in a row. Where do you go from here? And it's like, what do you want me to say? We finished the best we could possibly finish. Like,
time to break it up.
I hope it's a plateau. I hope it's not down, but you can't get any better than what we just did.
50's better, dude.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess we could just keep winning indefinitely. That would be pretty sick. What was the question then, Mike? Sorry, I started rambling.
Well, is it still fun?
Like,
what? Yeah. Do you ever wish? You know, we gave you a game. Yeah, here like, in Colorado
does any part of you want to, like, you know, go play for a not as good team, Ben? and be like,
Sure, yeah. I think there's a different kind of satisfaction with winning in different ways, like you can have a really close game that you're an underdog in and you win a championship from there. Like, I don't know how you guys felt about Bravo last year, but that it probably feels like, you weren't odds on favorites, in my opinion, to win it. And going through and winning is like, whoa, this is sick. Like, we did it. No one can ever take that from us. Like, we're the best. We won this year. And then there's just like the total domination that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of with Empire the last couple of years, where championship weekend rolls around and we just kind of stomp teams, and that's a different one to be like, we're the best. Like, it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't like a weird like, oh, underdog winning is fun and like really satisfying and uplifting, but just kind of crushing teams. That's fun in its own right.
Yeah, I imagine it's kind of like when I play against like little kids, like kind of like Redemption or something. Like I was just teaching at a camp and like we were playing Redemption, and so it was like I was supposed to win, and then like I hand block all of them, and then I do win. And I imagine it's like a similar feeling to that, where it's like I dominate you, and like it's still really satisfying. Like one of the kids is like, "Are you happy like beating us all? Like you feel good about yourself? Like you're beating a bunch of high schools?" And I feel great. I feel really good right now. Like my ego is like feeling awesome. Like I'm like hand blocking the shit out of them. I'm like the shimmy. I'm like making half of them like turn around on the mark. So I imagine that's like a similar-ish feeling.
Do you feel like you're playing against a bunch of children, Ben?
No, I was gonna say, I think the difference there is like we're playing against dudes like Atkins and Nethercutt and Rowan and all those folks who are like, you guys are trying hard to beat us. And there are some teams where it's like, maybe we should restructure the league. We should figure something out for like playoffs, because if DC had played in the championship, they would probably have won. If they had played anywhere near as good as they played against us in the quarters, they would have won. I think. So that kind of thing, like when you're playing against people who are highly skilled, it is satisfying. And like we had close games against Salt Lake and you guys, and a Philly game that was close, and some other stuff. When we're dumping on Montreal, and it's like, should we try to set a scoring record, or what should we do? It's like, this is, this could use some work, or we could try to figure out something to like, reseed after the first round of playoffs or something, and have some cross divisional something or other there. But anyway, to answer it in short, it is fun. It's fun to continue winning.
You're still having a good time.
I'm still having a good time.
The couple follow-up questions. The underdog versus you're the odds-on favorite, because when you won with Minnesota, I assume it was probably similar to what our feeling was winning club last year. You actually went through our Colorado team in quarters.
You were on that Colorado team?
No. I was coaching.
He looks young though, doesn't he? Looks young.
Well, you say you're Grand Masters. I was like,
no,
I don't think you were. I mean, I'm pretty old these days.
I actually remember. We felt like we were always at like stall 8, stall 9, and then it would go up to you, and you would come down with it. I think we ended up losing 15-11 or something. Yeah, and you may have been the first team to win college through pre-quarters at that point, I think.
Yeah, we were the first non-pool winning team to pull out the finals.
Who'd you lose to in your pool?
We lost to
Babbitts. Oh, Pittsburgh.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
You played the Babbitts later.
Yeah, Babbitt lost to Georgia and Sam Little, actually.
Oh, you didn't even play UMass that nationals.
We played UMass in pre-quarters, and we were like, I remember Charlie from Multiworld sent out this poll. It was like, vote for the pre-quarters matchup you want to see filmed, and folks were like, it's us versus UMass. Everyone vote for somebody else. We don't want our family to see us getting dumpstered on by Jeff and folks and friends, because we'd gotten crushed by them at Easterns, and so we were feeling like a little nervous about it. We ended up beating them and then beating that Colorado squad, and then we played Pittsburgh in that rainy semifinals game, which to me feels legendary, but I don't know if it has that.
Yeah, that's pretty that's a pretty legendary game for sure. And under the lights, that actually is super similar to I mean, it's nice that you lose to Pittsburgh in pool play and then you get to beat them again in whatever semis. Yeah, because that's the same. I mean,
really nice.
we lost to Truck in pool play, and then you get to run it back against them in the finals. And I was telling Mikey earlier, I was at that Easterns game as like a, I don't even know, like what year is that? That's like what, 2016?
2016.
Yeah. So I guess I was a senior in high school, and I was like visiting. Wow. I went to like UNCW that weekend. Like, imagine that. Like alternate universe.
You play with Jagt, you win next year. You beat Carlton.
I don't think I would have played with Jagt because I went in 2018, so he probably graduated in 17. Yeah. So I guess I was a junior. Yeah, but I went to a UNCW practice. That was the first time I met Jagt. But yeah, I remember like watching you and Babbitt, and I was like, holy Clash of Titans in that game.
Babbitt was sick, and that was before I had like any, I don't know, like name recognition too. It was just like Babbitt was the man, and then later that year I went off kind of in semis against Pittsburgh, and at that nationals it was like, okay, Yacht's pretty good.
Yeah, that guy's pretty big, huh?
Yeah,
pretty tough to stop.
6 inches taller than everyone else.
Who wins the 50-50 balls between you and Jeff?
Jeff.
Really?
Really?
I've maybe D'd him once or twice in like true 50-50 balls.
That is crazy.
But people don't understand. Jeff is like, I take myself against pretty much everyone, and the only guy that I don't think I've ever won against.
That's fucking nuts. Is that because he's just so big, like that it's impossible to get positioned?
But you're like 4 or 5 inches taller than him.
I think he's 6'2". Yeah. So the thing is, like, he's fast, so he finds the spot where he wants to be right away, and then he's bigger, so you can't get through him. And the only times that I think I've D'd him are when it's like a real run up for me, and I can truly like go up and like try to smack it because he's a 2-foot jumper, and I'll like jump off 1 foot so I can run up and jump. And that's the only time when I've gotten him is when I have a clear like path to run up and get it. And he's kind of
seals you so well.
Jostled. Yeah,
God, I want a taste of that so bad. Like that just is so exciting.
People don't understand. Like he's also way faster than everyone else.
Right.
Like
so
Antoine is fast, but I think Jeff is faster.
Right?
That's so ridiculous.
He's explosive like nobody does.
You played with Bo for a year, right? Like you caught him on the tail end.
2 years, I think.
2 years.
He was in 18 and 19.
So are you too young to have seen Bo in his prime?
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of Ultimate previous to my playing or like playing at an elite level. So I was like, oh, Bo, okay, cool. And then when we played with him, he was still good, but he wasn't like jumping over people good.
Yeah.
I would love to find the person that could answer the question of who is a more dominant receiver. I actually do think Bo was a slightly better athlete, like speed wise, but holy shit, those guys are crazy.
But Bo also just
Go ahead, Kins. What were you gonna say?
No, I don't even know. I was gonna say he's played with so many good throwers too, but I don't know.
I mean,
I think we could probably ask Grant. You had Grant on the podcast, so
yeah, we did.
Back, right? Because Grant played maybe at the tail end of true ultimate form Bo.
Yeah. Grant would be a good one to ask.
Yeah.
Or also, I suppose Jimmy would be a good one to ask.
Yeah, maybe Jimmy. Shout out Bo. He's actually just got inducted in the Hall of Fame.
That's right. He did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
First ballot.
No doubt.
Easy.
No doubt.
Of course.
I don't know if I've ever told these on the pod before, but one of the last years I went to Nutsy, you were like, some people don't get it. Like it was me and my friend Eddie, and we were like, playing the game where you just like get the disc thrown up to you, try to sky each other. And so then we were like joking around because like Babbitt was walking around. He was a counselor that year, and we were like, yeah, like Babbitt, like come get some, like we'll fucking sky you, like just like, we were like half joking, but like half we wanted to. And Babbitt's like, nah, this is not. You guys are way too young. And we like finally reluctantly get him to come in. They throw the disc up. Eddie and I like sizing it up, like where we're gonna go. And Babbitt just walks like 10 steps in front of us, jumps off 2 feet, catches a disc at like a height I've never seen a disc caught before, throws it back to the person, and just walks off. And we're like, all right, like that's pretty cool, I guess. Like we understand now that like we never had a chance. And then we were playing a camper counselor game, and the counselors were playing a zone. And Babbitt, I have the disc on the flick on like I guess the backhand sideline, and Babbitt is playing the far wing from me. And I go to throw a swing, and he's taking away the swing, so like a complete lateral throw, like the skipping swing. So he's taking away that complete lateral swing. So I go to see that. I don't throw it. And then I see like a guy all the way downfield, open in the end zone, like a little kid. The deep, like wasn't a very athletic counselor. I throw this beautiful flat backhand. It's like perfect. I throw it. It's like one of those ones you almost like want to walk off and just like Babbitt from the literal like guarding the fucking other handler runs. I mean, it must have been like at least 60 yards. Chest high layout on the back line of the end zone. Like to this, I mean, granted, it's like probably like some like high schooler, so it's not like they're going like crazy to get the disc, but like chest high layout hits it out the back. And those were like two of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen anyone do on a field. Like I just remember walking away from that week of Nutsy like absolutely shocked by like what he was capable of doing.
Yeah. It was.
He's a freak.
He's
a freak,
dude. Surprises me. We were playing like when I first moved to New York. We would play basketball on LA Fitness, and he'd just walk up, totally cold, stand underneath the hoop with a basketball, and just jump up and two-handed dunk it like it was nothing, and just as like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready to play. I'm tall and decently athletic. Takes me a little while, I can like throw it off the backboard and two-hand jam it, but it takes me a bit to warm up. And Jeff it's not even hard for him.
Yeah, I've seen him do that too, and it's fucking ridiculous. Like you're just like, how are you? Like, it's absurd. Yeah.
His stat line for the semifinals game, he only played like the first half.
I heard this.
He had 7 touches. No, he played
7 points played.
Scored 6 goals and 0 completions.
Yeah,
I think he didn't touch it outside of the end zone.
No, he didn't. I remember watching him be like, has Babbitt touched the disc outside of the fucking end zone? And he had not. Yeah. Fucking absurd.
Shout out Austin.
Yeah, shout out fucking Austin, dude. God, maybe if
they took him away in the playing field proper, I guess.
Dude, it's the league's fault, man. If Radak hadn't have been suspended for a quarter, like that's a game, dude. 100%.
Yeah. One of my friends said, it really makes you think what would have happened if he wasn't suspended. They would have lost by even more.
Tell us a little bit about that DC game though, because that like the offensive performance you guys had was historical. I think you had the most receiving yards in a game ever. What I mean, and also you're probably your best opponent of the year. What was the team mentality, and how did that come to fruition?
That's a really good question. I think DC played like lights out. I think they had 10 turnovers, and so we had 4 turnovers as a team. One of them was a weird one that I threw, that wasn't run through on an under. Another one was a Callahan. So conceivably, we could have had, 2 turnovers. Anyway, the previous record was 7 turnovers in a game, in a playoff game, I think, set by Carolina. But so that game, DC had 10 turnovers. So they weren't far off the all-time playoff record. So they played an incredible game. Like I said earlier, if they play that game against championship weekend contenders, they win. And if we had played like we had in championship weekend, just getting roasted on offense, we got broke a bunch of times both days. We lose to DC. So kind of a shout out to them for being quite good. But yeah, we just had, weirdly, we had an incredible game. I hadn't played any offense hardly all year. I've switched in a little bit here and there, but Oliver Chartok is the one who had been mostly taking those reps. But Jeff was out, and Lithio ended up being out after a little bit of warm up. They just said he couldn't do it, so they're like, okay, yeah, hop in. And Oliver also played, and we just I had filled in a few times with different just different drills during the weeks leading up to it, and just to be like I could use some reps. But yeah, and I had played offense years past, obviously, so I know Ryan and Jack and just the flow, those handlers and stuff. But yeah, we just randomly had a really crisp offensive possession. I think we were all really hyped for that game and really locked in a way that we hadn't been all year, just because we knew how intense they were going to be, and we understand that they're kind of like the Bulls to our Pistons. Hopefully we keep winning. Hopefully we're the Bulls in this scenario. But like the Pistons were the big brother to the Bulls when they right before they broke through and won 6 of their championships.
Right.
So for whatever reason, we were just all locked in. And I think some of that it was reminiscent for me of that Pittsburgh semifinal game in college where Ryan actually didn't play. And after we played you guys in quarters, Ryan's knee was hurt, and we were just kind of like, okay, let's just, if we lose, we lose, but we're a good team, so we're just gonna go out there and ball. And that game wasn't nearly as clean, but just sort of the mentality of being, it's a frame shift where you don't have anything to lose at that point, which is kind of different from our whole year's mentality of like we're the top dogs, we're the ones to beat. So
you didn't feel like you had added pressure in that moment. It was kind of the opposite.
I mean, that's how I felt. Like I know I'm locked in championship elimination games. Like I know myself, and I really like those moments, and I feel like I thrive when it comes to that kind of feeling and those high stakes. I can't speak for everyone else on the team, but I know that sharpens my focus in a way that I find beneficial. So I felt really good going into it. I didn't know if I'd be playing offense or defense. I practiced on defense that week, and then we got to the game, and they said, Jeff didn't pass concussion protocol, you're in. And it's like, oh, all right, here we go. So for whatever reason, it works out for me to sort of have those quick adapting mentality shifts. And it worked out for me that game. Whole offense.
Go ahead, Kins. Looked like you.
Well, it just raises the question of like I wonder like how good DC's defense is in both like club and AUDL, because I just like, it seems like they allow a lot of like really high quality performances, and like I just like something about like I don't really like watch them like that closely, I suppose, but just like it seems like whenever we played them last year and like against like you guys as well, it's like their O-line that's winning them games, which is honestly like not the the formula for a lot of teams. A lot of teams are like, especially like with you guys, especially at championship weekend, like the defense is crazy, and it's like the more you get the defense out in the field, the other team is like eventually going to break to that pressure. Whereas like with Truck Stop and Breeze, it's like they might just like hold every fucking point, and even if they only break you a couple times, like that's how they're able to win. And it's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, I wonder, that's not a bad point. I think their offense has definitely been the workhorse of their team, but their defense, to me, it felt like it was really close much of the time. They did play us just honest, like person, and allowed me to score a whole bunch of goals deep because we had like Ryan and Jack throwing perfectly, which is a strange decision, I think.
Yeah, honest person seems a little too simple, like at this point against you guys and against like most good teams.
Yeah. So I think one of their things was they had scouted for Jeff, is my guess. They had scouted for Jeff to be on offense. And Jeff is, a cone cutter. He's an incredible deep cutter, but he has a lot of explosive muscle and maybe doesn't cut deep as like freely as I will. I'll just kind of like run myself into the ground like a dog, and Jeff is like maybe a little.
He's like
more
one step and
judicious.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, with when he's cutting. So I think perhaps they said that's the game plan, and then didn't adjust it when I got in, or didn't realize that I'm slightly different player or much different player. So I'm not sure what they were feeling, but I think that shift last minute of me to offense maybe threw it off a little bit. But I agree. Daryl's a good coach. I was surprised to see them just.
I might just go on record as saying that DC has like a super mid tier defense.
You've
I'm
said
gonna
that
be
before.
honest. Like I think I've said it
honestly,
before, I just wanna,
I felt like
put
Trucks
it on record.
Their strategy is injure Grant Lindsley and then beat Ben in the semifinals. Jeff doesn't play. That's
you heard it here first.
That's what Bartlett's out there for.
Intentional.
Intentional shoulder.
That was messed up. No, on record, I know it wasn't intentional. But...
Off record, fuck
we'll
you.
Clip that. We'll clip that.
Fuck
yeah.
Whoever,
post it.
Bartlett or whatever the fuck.
That brings up a question. Who's the toughest matchup for you? Like, actually, that's two questions that we like to ask a lot are: who's the toughest person for you to guard? Who's the toughest person to get open on? But also like general mentality and approach to the game from top players. Like, Kin specifically likes to ask about feedback, but maybe we'll get to that in a second. Do you have who is the toughest person? Yeah,
who sticks out as tough matchups?
Sticks out. Honestly, guys like Ben Spielman, who plays on Pony, is really a tough matchup. Like, he's a big body, quick feet, and is tall enough where people will be discouraged from throwing it to me deep, just because he's there. I think
curly-haired Ben, right?
Yeah, curly.
I am shocked to hear that answer. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah,
he's solid.
I'm shocked. I thought he was solid, and then I played against you guys at US Open, and I was less. My rating for Spielman went down from like mid 80s to like low 70s.
We also lost that game 15-9.
I felt great, man. I felt really good, dude. I felt good on both sides of the ball. I felt really good.
Kids is not attached to reality. He was feeling good that game.
But I felt good. We were awful. Like, the team played awful.
You threw like 4 turnovers.
No. I threw like 4 great hucks.
2 of them were out the back.
No.
You didn't have any turnovers? Oh,
I had one. I had one. No, I had one turnover in like straight up garbage time late in the game, and I airmailed a flick. I had 3. I had 4 great hucks that game.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of them was a standstill initiate, just like center to you, and then you blast it, and I was like, how are we letting them throw that?
I don't know. No, I had a backhand to Nut, and then he threw a lefty turn on the goal line.
Yeah.
I threw one to Matty Jackson that he dropped. I threw a flick to Denny that he kind of like laid out for in the end zone. Oh yes, one was I caught an under, and someone was guarding Quinn, and I threw a backhand, and he like kind of fell. But whatever, man. Check the tape. And Spielman whatever. Spielman
was dog. All right.
Spielbot was getting cooked, and I just remember it was off one of the turnovers, and dude, he was so tired, and someone on your sideline was yelling at him like run him, Spielman, like run him, and I was so fucking amped up. I was like, that is the worst thing you can be yelling on the sideline, because in my head I'm like, I'm gonna fucking destroy you right now for like, and it's your teammate's fault. That's all I remember. Yeah. Anyway.
But speaking of, can we go back to the trash talk we had back and forth in our summit versus Empire game? That was fun, because I go ahead.
Go on.
Well, let me jump in really quick on this, because pregame, and I'll take the blame on this, but pregame I was like, Kin's Yacht's probably guarding you, so like let's keep you around. I asked, what do you think about staying close to the disc instead of being in the lane.
And I'm like, I want to fucking sky his ass.
Yeah, instead, like I should have said, you have to stay in the backfield because we need you. Like,
throw it up, baby. Throw that shit up. That was the mentality. Throw that shit up. If Babbitt can sky him, fuck it, man. I didn't know that.
Yeah, little old Babbitt. Alex Atkins better than Babbitt. That's funny. I just remember. So part of it was, speaking of like being like, oh, he's tired, like run him. First thing, I started talking a little smack, like literally first thing on the point.
First touch, baby.
And Alex Atkins, probably much to your chagrin, Mike, goes, all right, throws it, centering pass, and just starts blasting deep. And you had me pretty good.
Nut, I fucking hate Nut, bro. Fuck Nut.
And he didn't throw it. And I was like, oh, Kins, they don't trust you, man. They're not throwing it to you, man. They're not throwing it too deep. They don't trust you. He comes sprinting as hard as he can under to get a big one, goes back deep, starts, has me again, and they didn't throw it. I go, wow, they're not throwing it, man. They don't trust you.
Dude, I was so fucking bad. That was the one that I really got me. I was so pissed about that. Even you watched back the game, and Chuck in the commentary is like, I can't believe Nut didn't throw that one. Like the first fucking look, it was like a massive, like, no, I actually, like, I watch, like, I just, I love when I get excited, like, we have, like, tape playing O-line. I just, like, love, like, like, in the DC game, for example, like, some of the backhand rips they had to you, it's like, sure, you make a good cut. You have, like, a step of separation. But, like, that Williams one, he starts on the right sideline, throws the backhand all the way out to the other side. And then, like, Osgar had a couple, too. Osgar had one just, like, like, going the other direction. Yeah. Where it's just, like, sometimes I just, like, want those when it's, like, a little deep. And it's, like, I think the difference with us is, like, it's not like we're making this cut and like we're like sprinting and have like we have separation, but it's like just off like one step. And it's kind of like when you get the throwers to just like trust that, like put it up, especially in the right spot, it's like literally impossible for a defender who's like let you have it. But on the flip side of that, it's like, you kind of like can like force those in some areas, I guess. Cause like it has to be a good thrower to throw it for sure. But I was tight about that in that first point. I remember we turned it over and I looked at Nut and I looked at Quinn and I was like, guys, throw it. I don't think we threw on the whole game though.
I remember you walked off at one point and you were like, Quinn. And I knew you were saying like throw it, throw it to me. And I was like, I probably said something. I was like, yeah, they'll throw it to you next time or something.
And the thing about that, dude, is I was just so tight because especially like losing, losing sucks. And I remember right after the game, like I was just pretty pissed because
I hate losing. I sat outside the locker room and I felt like had to have a little therapy session.
I was so sad. Like I just hate losing. Like especially like the way we lost. And I gotta say, like it did work because like I cramped harder than like I've ever cramped in my whole like life after that game, and that was 100% like due to the fact that like you said, I was running like really fucking hard. Like both my New York games this year have cramped like very hard, and then I hurt my knee in the U.S. Open one because I laid out in like a crossover game.
Oh, yikes. Yeah, the grab you had, and then when you start cramping at the U.S. Open, it was sick. And then you were like so amped up, but you're like sitting on the ground, like amped up. We were like, "What the heck is he doing, man? It looks like an idiot over there."
I know. I know that was so sad because this was the same way I hurt my knee last year when I like lay out.
Yeah, this is actually a knee injury.
Yeah, and I land on it, and I tore my PCL last year doing the same thing, and I did the same. It's not as bad. It wasn't as bad this year, but it was like the same injury and like the same like symptoms like right after. Because that was a sick point. I've been trying to get you guys filmed it, and I've been texting Brian to like send it to me because
give it to me.
That point was good. But I have a bad streak of like when TK puts me on D lines of hurting myself because I also like I just get so like for those games like. And it's probably a flaw, but like even though it's like a meaningless crossover game, and I just like. I mean, just because you guys are the best, and so it's like the motivation to like play well and beat you guys is like second to none. Like it's just
Totally.
like I just get so amped up, and then like losing it is even the worst. But going back to the AUDL game, I remember like there's so many funny things from that because it was you and like Holm, like fucking whatever Jeff,
Yeah, Jeff Holm.
Jeff
The
Holm.
goons. We had the
Yeah,
goons
yeah,
on.
literal fucking just goons on me. And I remember you both came up and you're like, "Hey, Kins, like we heard you're a head case," and I assumed that like this was like since you both said the same thing, I was like in my mind super irrational. I was like, "Fucking Hoppus, dude!" Like Charlie, who used to be my coach on patrol when I was like more fiery because I was like fresh out of high school, but like freshman. I was like, dude, it was fucking Hoppus put him onto this shit. Like Hoppus and Nunez definitely told their ass to like come down and be chirping me from the point. And so there was like early in the game, I throw like a fat hammer in front of your guys' sideline. And there's a really hype video of it. Yeah, and I'm just yelling at Charlie. And I'm like, fuck you, Charlie. Yeah, I'm a fucking head case. Like, fuck you. And that shit was so exciting. God, I get like excited just like thinking about it.
I remember that, dude. That fired me up too because you're like, fuck you, Charlie. Like, you're a fucking bum. Like,
and it's so funny because I have no recollection of what I said. And the funniest thing is, like, in the video, my mouth is moving so fast. Like, so many words are coming out. Like, it's just like pure, like, words coming out. And, like, Nunez, I saw Nunez and Charlie championship weekend, and, like, Nunez made a joke about it. And literally until then, I had no idea that I called Charlie a bum. Like, I have no idea what I said. Like, things were just coming out.
We're the same. I think, like, I'll say things when I'm in the heat of the moment and just be like fired up. People on Empire like make fun of me because I get fired up at practice, and I'll call. One time I screamed at Jeff because he was guarding me. I was playing offense and he was playing defense, and defense wasn't giving us any sort of pressure at all. And I just was like, "Come guard me!" And he started talking back to me, and I was like, "You couldn't guard me if you wanted to, you fat fuck!" Just like screaming across the whole field. And so people make fun of me for like, you don't have any good, like, all you do is just scream and you're screaming nonsense, man.
Well, especially in those moments, like, yeah, they're not witty. Like, these are not like witty things coming out.
It's my lizard brain being like,
yeah, dude. That is so funny. Like, God, if you did that at like a practice here, like the repercussions of like
we'd have to have a team meeting about our
feelings. We'd have to have a team meeting, dude. There would be like a council meeting. I feel like if we were on the same team, the practices would be the most. Everyone always says like, practice harder than like, but like it's tough because there is this hard line of like your teammates, and so like a lot of people, it's difficult to like get into that competitive fiery zone when you're playing your teammates, because in the back of your mind it's like, all right, well, I'm about to like be on these guys' team like in a couple days at a big tournament or whatever. And I just feel like they would be some pretty fucking intense practices.
I think in that way it works to my favor to be sort of like known as the head case, because people are like, oh, Benny's just saying stuff, but in the moment everyone's fired up, and afterwards everyone's like, Ben's
because you're like conditioned to it.
Yeah, because they all know, like, yelling and trash talk is like a blade, like it gets dulled if you use it too much, and I definitely use it enough, but I think other teams don't see it enough, whereas my team, like, it fires them up.
They're not sharpening the blade either.
Yeah.
Does trash talk get into your head? Because Kins, I assume you would agree that it affected you negatively. Your performance?
It's a weird thing where it affects me. Like it affected me positively in the short term, where like I made a bunch of hype plays, I get really energetic. But definitely in the long term, it's negative because the problem, like in that game, was I just like overexerted myself like early in the game. Like
and you also just tried to beat Ben deep.
Right. It was like the decision making of like, I'm going to like keep, like, if I had been smart, it would have been like, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to go in the handler space. I'm going to make a lot of breakthroughs and like move the disc quickly and like run and get it back. And in my head, I'm like, throw the disc up in the air, put that shit up. Let's go.
What about you, Ben? Though,
It's
sorry,
negative.
finish.
No, I'm just saying, like some people, it like affects their execution. With me, like it definitely like dials me in, but it's like that balance of like the energy spike can't be too high.
Yeah, for me, I think. Well, first of all, not a lot of people talk trash to me, so sometimes I will like start talking trash, and they'll give it back to me, and that's really gets me going. Like, I'll say like, put somebody else on me. Like this guy can't guard me, and then they start talking back to me, and it's like, oh yeah, like all right. I think of our game against Toronto in last year in 2021, 2022, and they were like a bunch of new guys, like sort of the old guard had left, and for whatever reason, they started talking a lot of trash. The coach did. He actually told me to go fuck myself afterwards because I ran up and got a D, like end of half, and some guy was like, nice, good stats, and I was like, look at the scoreboard. I think we were like doubling them up at that point. I was like, look at the scoreboard. Yeah, like you guys might want to try getting some stats at some point. And it kind of blew up. The coach said, go fuck yourself or something. Adrian Yearwood. And I was like, all right. So then we came out of the second half just firing, and I was like, you guys are bums, like you suck. Just like I was like going off. So I think for me it fires me up in a good way, and I'm confident in my motor and my conditioning and my like gameplay focus in high pressure situations that it works well for me, but maybe not for everyone. And
yeah, I don't think the strategy is like coming in shit talking New York right now. I think like you guys are too good to like get fired up for no reason. Like you don't need to give you guys a reason to like be super amped to like crush a team. Like I think really the strategy should be like, hello, good morning, Mr. Yacht. Good morning, Mr.
Kindness.
Good morning, Mr. Williams. Good morning, Mr. Osgar. Like, how are you doing today?
yeah.
I'm very excited to play you guys and have a fun, respectful game, and like, and then maybe you catch them sleeping, and then you go. But like the shit talk is not, I don't think it'll work.
Honestly, that was Salt Lake City's strategy. They were like,
Well, that's
Yeah,
always
they
their
are.
shit.
They're super nice.
You're our idols. Hello, blah blah blah. It was funny. At one point, one of them said, "I went up for one too early in the Salt Lake game," and he said, "We went up too early," and I was like, "What did you say?" And he said, "Oh, I was just talking to myself. I'm working on not going up too early because usually I do that." And I was like,
that is such
I
bullshit,
don't know, man.
No, they are like that. They're like really. Like you gotta like unlock it, which is like the funniest thing about when we, the players are nice. Who aren't nice is the fucking shred heads. They will come at you, dude. Like I had even like we posted the thing about like me doing the commentary on like the Summit Instagram, and some dude on the Instagram is like you picked Atkins, like he's so vulgar and has a vocabulary of a 3-year-old. And then you're like, dude, and then I'm like at first I'm like, well, that's makes me sad, and I like go to look at it, and it's like praise the Lord, like will be a good person for the rest of my life, and it's like a fucking shred head, and then you just like immediately like ignore everything that's being said, because like I love the picture of you. You sent it to me today, Mike, but it's like Yacht has like 300 goals, 300 assists, and it's just 165 comments after the game of just like pure hatred from the shred heads of like it's like
spikes.
It's like, what were they doing before the shred were created? Like somehow they've like their fan base. It's honestly like amazing for like the league and everything, but it's like out of control.
It is good for the league.
That's what I was thinking. I've heard from, I think, NBA chatter that at least back in the day, that the Salt Lake fans, the Jazz, are like some of the worst fans out there. Like they're just so loyal. And like you said,
apparently they were really racist back then.
Yeah, that probably is what I heard.
Probably true, man.
But you say you read it and then you sort of ignore what they have to say because it's a shred head. But it hurts a little bit to be like,
no.
Oh, really?
No, because they're fucking
they have thicker skin than I do.
They're fucking lunatics, dude. They are fucking lunatics. They're out of control. It's like if you are that. See, like when I get hurt by what someone says, it is someone that I respect. Like when I respect you and I look up to you and I think you are like a like a respectable human being. Like, fuck that shit. Like, when people say some shit to me, that shit hurts me. When you're like, I literally think they're all brainwashed, and so like for them saying some like heinous shit to me, like it doesn't honestly affect me at all.
I mean, I can rationalize and be like, these guys don't know anything about Ultimate. Like, they were saying things like, after I spiked it 3 times and got kicked out, they were like, he's flicking off the crowd afterwards. It's like, it's just not true. It's hardly worth engaging in it because
No, you can't engage. I saw
like
that you
so
engaged.
asinine.
You can't engage. You have to just let it be because they're so it's pathetic. Like they're so, and like the other thing is like they're so pissed off that they're like going in the comments and they're like going through all this effort to like do all of these things. And it's just like, it's amazing. Like I always like, I just like, I'm
It's
always
sports
shocked by the
fandom.
people. Like it's like
across
ridiculous.
all
Fanaticism,
sports.
yeah.
It's
Fanatics.
I it's shocking to me with them. And
So-
like I remember I thanked you after that game because I like a couple games earlier I had like you know, I did Will Selfridge's Selly like for like 30 seconds in the game and they were all like super fucking pissed at me. And then
That's
you go there.
appropriation.
Yeah. And then you go there and then
It
it's
was
like they
immediately
forgot
afterwards.
all about
Yeah.
me. They didn't even know who I fucking was. They were just like, fuck yeah. Fuck that guy.
So
Yeah.
Lepler describes you, Yacht, as a villain. Like you like to play the villain role. Is that true? Like, do you see yourself as a villain? And I guess Kins, do you feel like you're kindred spirits in this way?
I am not a villain. I'm a good guy.
What do you what Ben though? Does that true what Evan says? Do you see yourself as a villain or do you like to play it up?
I don't see myself as a villain. I think there's aspects of showmanship, especially in the AUDL. Like in club, we're all paying our own money to see it. Like we know we're not going to make any money. Like you know, USAU is not trying to like become a professional organization, and for better or for worse, whatever. Like we all know what we're getting into when we pay dues. But in the AUDL, like you want to engage with the fans. You want to say like, you know, there's 3,000 people here, more than that at the Salt Lake games. Like, let's live it up a little bit. Let's play a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, play to the crowd a little bit and, you know, hype me up with some energy. And so I think villain is like too strong a role. I don't mind having a little bit of showmanship and saying, you know, like, here we are. But again, like you guys said, how do you, is it boring? Like, how do you get fired up? You gotta have something. Like we went into that weekend to Colorado and Salt Lake City being like, you know, let's talk some trash. Like let's let these teams have it a little bit because we're good and like this is going to be a hard road trip. These are going to be 2 very, very good teams that we have to beat. So I don't think of myself as a villain. I can see how
A competitor.
I get that played or like get that sort of
Where did
narrative.
Lepler come up with that line? Is that did he just make that up?
I think so. Maybe I said something like I don't mind being a villain or something, but like nobody's a villain. We're all like I said this to Atkins.
It's all
As long as-
perspective, man.
It's frisbee hate, sports hate.
As long as my competitors respect me, I'm okay with it. Like if fans think I'm a jerk, that's, you know,
Yeah.
unfortunate, but I don't really care if a bunch of like sectionals and regionals and pickup level players don't think I'm a nice person. But
Especially when they don't know you.
Yeah. That
Or
was the other
haven't
thing,
even
like,
even if like they haven't been on the field with you.
like if I make dangerous plays, not once did I make a dangerous play. Like spiking at somebody, like laying out into people. Sorry, there's a difference between spiking like
I agree.
on the ground in somebody's direction and laying out into people. And like there are dangerous players who have like heinous bids frequently, and that should be punished. But
Yeah,
like
that's a lot worse.
unsportsmanlike conduct or whatever, which is probably warranted for my triple spike, you know, that's not that bad.
Totally.
In
And
my
like
opinion.
sticks and stones and layouts into my back will break your bones, but like words should never hurt you. And it's also because like a lot of it is because, you know, like of who you are and how good you are. Like that is like also like you wouldn't, because there's a lot of people that like, yeah, do bad bids and like that kind of shit, but because they're a lot quieter and
Trying
like
to find
aren't,
kinks in the armor a little bit.
yeah, and because they're like quieter and that kind of stuff, like, you know, they don't get the like as much attention and like hate. But like when you're someone who's like scoring a bunch of goals and then like also doing some like crazy shit after, like, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of hate. But I hate to break it to you, Ben, you are definitely a villain in some eyes across the country.
That's
I
okay.
think you,
Ben-
you don't have to be pigeonholed or you know classified as to any one thing, but certainly in some. But it's the same with me. It's the same with me.
Yeah.
As
Do you
long as like your
remember
family, you know.
the spike you had against Sockeye 2018?
I was gonna
Do you
bring
remember
that
this
up.
one
Yeah.
against
Of course I remember
Hussein?
that one.
Was that
Yeah.
what was the motivation behind that one?
I mean, I don't know if you guys know the line that I said before when he fouled me. I called a foul on him because he was sticking his leg out, and we had a whole discussion about it. And I was like, "You stick your leg out, and you're cheating, and you knew I was going to beat you, and you stuck your leg out because you knew I had you toasted."
Yeah.
And so then I scored on him and I spiked. And funny you should say that. Like you were saying, don't engage with them. There's a Reddit post about that at some point, and I think it was Del Rico posted like good players throw to the break side, average players catch goals on the break side or something. And I was just so fed up with it. I just made a Reddit account that was Ben Yacht, and I just went full Amanda Bynes and was just like telling everyone off. I was like, "How many championships do you have? Like, what level player are you? Like, you played at regionals before? Congrats!" Just like being a total dickhead about it. But yeah, I remember that spike. I was fired up. I remember Isaac Saul afterwards saying,
Yeah,
like,
dude, that's the best part of the like. There's that video on it. There's like a video on that game, and someone
Yeah.
showed it to me, and I always get jealous watching that because I'm like, damn, what if I spiked it like that, and instead of being like shunned by my entire team, someone was like, "We'll take that fucking blue card any day of the week."
yeah, that fires me up. I heard this story about Dutchy, who is the World Games coach, and talking to Grant. They were down at TEP doing it was like not this last World Games cycle, but the one previously. And Grant had been rehearsing some like trash talk in Spanish, and then let somebody hear it after a good play, and then the other coach came up to him and was like, "You can't." I think it was Mauricio or whatever, the Colombian coach, came up to him and be like, "You can't, like that's unspirited. You can't say this kind of stuff." And Dutchy was like, okay, and like went to Grant and was like, "Do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, keep doing it. I don't care. Like, we're trying to win." And I think perhaps that was supposed to be in confidence, but I think to me that really speaks to
That's right. Insight.
how we're all teammates.
Player insight. Yeah, that's what we're here for.
How teammates and supporting your teammates, like no matter what. Like obviously, again, if they're laying out into somebody, I'll say that was a dangerous bid. But supporting them in being themselves and like spiking it or like being who they are. Like, of course, I think you like sometimes. Like if we're playing Kins, I think like he looks like a doofus. Like if you're all fired up, like of course. But I know people think the same thing about me, and the fact that my teammates are on my side to be like, "We have your back." Like the number of people came up to me after that I got ejected for the triple spike was like numerous on my team. So I think that's the beauty of sports is that we're all coming together to do the same thing, and only your teammates truly know you. And I know that I would love playing with Atkins if we were on the same team because I respect people with fire.
That's the other thing is I feel like it's just like just kind of like when you get that, we've like talked about it before on here, but like when you get to that level, it's like this isn't like a decision I'm making. Like I like in a normal head, I'm never gonna like do or say these types of things. But I'm like the most like I've like basically just done like 80 lines of cocaine. Like you like sometimes like this shit's just gonna happen. And honestly, I think it's one of the like greatest part of these like games is like you don't feel that way in just like normal life. Like you don't get to like tap in to that kind of raw emotion in like normal life. And like not everyone's like that either. Like not every like a lot of people are a lot more cool, calm, and collected. And like that's great for them. But a lot of people like you get into these types of things and it's like there's not really a lot of avenues in life other than like sports and some things where you can just like get that fired up and like feel that kind of way. And yeah, there's some cons to it. Like maybe you're gonna just like make some noises with your mouth that aren't like very savory and like to other people. But there's a lot of cool parts of it too, is because like I couldn't fucking run that hard or do a lot of the things that I do that also make it like fun to watch and like go on if I wasn't that amped up. So it's just like, and I think that's like a beauty of like if everyone can like understand that it's just like sometimes a part of like this like very heated competition. Like I kind of love it, and there's something like very like primal about like just going into that zone.
Yeah, we're into the topic space that like really intrigues me now, and that's like centered around culture. You know, you mentioned that your teammates had your back, regardless like of what you're like. It almost doesn't matter what you did. Like they know who you are, they respect you as an individual, and will go to bat for you. So now you've been a part of it. You're two-time defending champion, 30-game win streak. You also play for Pony, probably the most consistently dominant team over the last 5-6 seasons. Can you talk a little bit about the culture? Like, is there like a New Yorkism to it? What's the difference? What are the differences between Empire and Pony?
That's I think I'll engage with it in just like a New Yorkism first, and then I can talk to or speak to the differences between New York or Pony and Empire. I think one of the things that Harper Garvey brought up when we were playing Worlds last year, and I don't know how many international tournaments you guys have played in, but like there's a difference where it's like other countries are a little more focused on spirit of the game and how that interacts with the play on the field. And we're a little on edge, I think, just as in general as New York Frisbee lately, just because we've had a lot of success, and we know that we have a target on our back for the last 5-6 years and like Akin said, we know we're going to get the best from everyone else, and you guys, like, everyone is fired up to play us. So Harper said this, that we play with like a little edge, just kind of like everyone in New York has just a little edge. Like we're not chill, like we're not hiking, we're not skiing, we're not like living our best lives, so to speak. We're like, I got to get from my home to whatever, and I'm gonna see
in the
plenty of
jungle,
unsavory people on the way there, and I just have to be a little on edge, because if you're not, you're gonna waste away in New York City. So I think that is a combination of like having a target on your back and kind of being from New York and being exposed to that energy a lot, is probably why we're a little bit like, ready to have each other's back, because only we know what that's like again. And it's probably anywhere with teammates, but I don't have enough experience on like elite teams aside from Pony and Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, the difference between Empire and Pony is not super big. I think there's a few more like glue guys and culture leaders on Pony that make it feel a little different, maybe a little older. But people on Empire are very invested in their own ways and excited to win, and I think the general culture is just one of excellence and how we all want to win no matter what. And then anyway, in addition to that, off the field, I think having your back, like being friends with your teammates off the field is something that I always have found is the most indicative of whether or not you'll feel successful once the season is over, win or loss.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that comes from, being respected as an individual, as you said, Mike. And whether or not you throw 3 turnovers, your friends are still going to like hanging out with you afterwards, because we're all just playing Frisbee together, and we all love playing Frisbee together. And then we're going to go to the grill out afterwards, after practice and after the tournament, and during the off season, we're all going to be, doing whatever, just chopping it up.
Which team has a better roster?
It's a really good question. I think it'd be hard to say that Empire has a better roster now that Jagt and Ryan are playing both Empire,
for sure,
or both Empire and Pony. but the dross make a big difference. Oliver Chartok is very good. Everyone, and I think some of the differences come from the different field size, but it'd be hard to say one is better by a significant margin than the other. But
no, it's not. The Ponies roster this year is so stacked because you're adding Kocher and Mickle and all these other people that it's like ridiculous.
True, like Jabron and Cam Warner and whatever, but like on the big field, the dross.
Spielberg.
Spielman. Just because he's Jewish doesn't mean you can say Berg at the end of it. Come on, I can't.
Is that why I want to do that?
I can't tell. I don't know what's going on in your mind, but maybe that's all I'm gonna say. But anyway, the dross.
I'm Jewish too.
Oh, I forgot you're from the East Coast. Okay, cool.
So Spielberg, let's go.
All right.
Anyway, but the dross are really good on the big field. They're really good on the small field too. But I think Pony is probably a little better, but again, it's a smaller field and different players. Empire just gets us in such good shape, so it's hard to say right now if they had to play each other with clone players. I think there's a decent chance that Empire would win because we've only played like one tournament as Pony or two tournaments, but
Have you suited up with Pony yet?
Yeah, I played at the U.S. Open.
Oh,
he didn't play against us really, but then he played later.
My knee had been a little tweaked from our last Montreal game, regular season game. So yeah,
you didn't want the rematch, dude. That's what it was.
Yeah, I didn't want the.
That's what we're all here for.
I couldn't take it.
You didn't want to. Yeah. See, that's the other thing about talking shit is like, it's not fun when you're just getting beat down. Like, kind of takes away a little bit of the fire, you know. Like,
definitely.
It's a little harder when it's not going as well.
But if you talk crap while you're down, then it feels all that much better when you finally come back.
Totally, and like I certainly do. I just it doesn't like doesn't feel as good in the moment. It's like way harder. Yeah. I wanted to start with this like earlier, but I did want to like I'm curious. I don't know how I don't know like when did you get into Ultimate? Like what did that look like? I'm just kind of interested. Like
I started playing with a church group around here. The youth pastor had gone to school out on the West Coast and started playing. It's like, well, this is sick, and we just started throwing around at the park. And I was a horrible thrower, worse than I currently am. And anyway, we just started like playing, and I realized I was pretty good when it was just the youth pastor and myself who played against everyone else, and we won. And I was like, oh, I'm probably pretty athletic if I can do that. And so I found the local high school team, started playing with them, and then I was like, well, this is cool. Found YCCs and made some friends from that, and got to try out for the Wind Chill, and then kind of got recruited out to New York after that.
So we pulled up your Ultimate reference, and for some reason I thought that you started playing later in college. Is that not true? Well, obviously not.
I played in high school a little bit, and then took a couple of years, like after I graduated high school, I went out to work in the North Dakota oil fields. So I didn't go to college and play like that year.
Got it.
So that's probably why I took that time and then played Wind Chill, and then ended up playing Grey Duck for the last 3 years. But it was like kind of like starting my third, fourth, and then fifth year. So I didn't play like my first 2 years of eligibility. I had played some club in between too.
Did you play other sports?
Played a little golf and football. I hated football. I was just actually thinking it's like 2-a-days time because school's about to start here in Minnesota, and this is when I would have been doing some 2-a-days, and I hated it. I didn't know what anxiety was back then, but now I understand like it's the pit in your stomach, and I would not recommend myself to play football if I could go back in time. What position did you play?
I played quarterback and cornerback. I was so small. I was so small. It was my
tall
freshman.
Tall and skinny,
that
or
tall either. I mean, I was tallish, but not
I was
yet.
probably like 5'11" to 6'1" or something. It was my freshman and sophomore year. I was so small. I wonder if they have a picture of me back here somewhere. I'm sure they do somewhere, but I was.
Yeah, we'd
small.
love to see that. Well, so what, Kins, you want to do a little pro champs questions for Ben?
Oh yeah, we were talking. I mean, how do you feel about the 4 games, dude? 4 games in a day.
I actually haven't looked into it at all. I'm not going to pro champs.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not going to see you.
My little brother's getting married this weekend, so I'm sticking around Minnesota with the fam for the week, and then just gonna go back to New York.
Yeah,
But
none of the cool kids go to pro champs.
Yeah,
I'm not
4
going either.
games sounds horrible. That does not sound fun. 3 games is already a lot for a lot of those
Too
tournaments.
many. I think 3 games is too many in a day.
Yeah, 4 games. So playing one AUDL game like a day and then another one the next day is a lot. But the USAU, I would hope they are able to restructure it in a way that is fair. But like having the finals of all these major tournaments after playing like 7 games in the last 3 or 4 days is not the best product for the fans.
Give us some of your takes. I'm on the record for not loving tournaments because I think they're unsafe and just too grueling. Do you prefer playing one over the other, AUDL
definitely prefer playing AUDL to club. I mean, as far as the tournament schedule, I think the field maybe is a little more fun. The field size is a little more fun just because you have to kind of be like when it's going well on offense, it's kind of like a mind meld. You just feel totally in sync with your teammates, and it's like you can read their minds, which is a really special element of Ultimate when you're turning at the right points and like cutting just in flow with everyone.
Totally.
So yeah, I think the tournaments are terrible. I think the games to 15 add a different element of fun where it's like I have 15 chances to score on offense, and if I get broken, that's like I'm giving away one of those chances, which is for whatever reason is like a mind shift or a mindset shift that doesn't happen in the AUDL very much. I think turnovers. I would like to see some analysis to see if it's as frequent the turnovers in club versus pro, but I kind of doubt it. Anyway, but yeah, games I think are insane that we're playing 7 games to finally make it to
and it's not only
final.
like not a good product for people watching, it's not a good product for people playing. Like I guess like they want, people are flying out to go to this tournament, so I guess the thought process is like between like the two pools is like get them to play as many people as possible, but then it's like, do I want to play like whoever as like the 4th game of the day? Like I don't think any team is really like amped up to play that 4th game, even if it's like an awesome team that normally you'd be like can't wait. It's like 4th game.
Yeah, what is the feedback that USAU's gotten that led them to make this decision?
Yeah, I'm not sure USAU does anything with feedback other than throw it in the trash. It's insane. Do you guys remember the pro champs from like 4 years ago? I think it was 2019, where it was in Pennsylvania.
Philly,
and we were playing on like slanted fields like this,
yeah,
and
those
half
fields.
of them were just dirt. And we were like, this is one of the premier tournaments of the whole year, and you guys have us playing on the worst fields that some of the worst fields I've ever played on, let alone like seen.
Yeah, the organization is not set up to succeed with like I mean, high turnover in staff. There's I think a lot of them, the priorities just are not in favor of high quality tournaments.
Yeah. I haven't thought much about it, so I haven't really worked through all the details, but like a super regionals, like having 2 like halves of the country or something, and then having that culminate in nationals where you don't need 16 teams at nationals because only like 8 of them have a really decent chance. Like when's the last time that somebody seated lower than like 8 won? I don't know that it.
Yeah, don't put that number lower than 8, dude. That 8 seed is dangerous.
I think Pony was seated 10th when we lost to ring in the finals because of some weird
Oh,
we hadn't
well,
played much, and it was we were like a fake
yeah, Jimmy
10,
was hurt all year,
but
right?
yeah, we had a
Wait,
horrible regular season all year in
And you
2021.
were what? You were
And I
not able to
didn't
play
play
regular.
much. So yeah, we had a horrible season, but we really turned it up for the finals. Anyway, we were also one time we won U.S. Open and Pro Champs in 2018 actually, and we were still seated behind Revolver. So anyway,
they were
that
pretty
or
good,
maybe it
dude.
was Sockeye that we were seated behind. But anyway, some of the stuff doesn't make sense. But I like the idea of having two like I don't know, kind of like half nationals, and then being like, okay, these are the representatives.
Yeah,
and actually duke it out. You could do
that
like
would
two
be
games,
that'd
and
be
then like
cool.
finals, semis, or something.
That'd be cool.
Which is still a lot of games, but
a lot of it is like people they just want to go to nationals. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
they just want to go. It's like that's like so much of it is like, and I guess like yeah, the counterpoint would be like it is what's fun about nationals is like it's a fucking party. Like I mean at this point I just view it more as like festivals, but the main event is just people playing frisbee instead of like music. You know?
I suppose my privilege is showing when I've played in semifinals and finals of the last 5 years. So I haven't lost. I haven't won it in a while, but like I've been involved in like trying to win it for a long time. So I think maybe that's different. But if even if we go that way, then like it's a party. Make it so that the last 2 days are like a hat tournament, and you can like sign up and you can just go play a hat tournament with all people that you don't know or whatever.
Right,
and then,
don't make me play a stupid consolation game against whatever the fuck, wherever the fuck. Like that's the other crazy shit is you'll have a game, a meaningless consolation game, and like it was during like the finals and shit. Yeah. Like I remember it was like I think you guys were like I guess I mean it's just crazy like that shit.
Get your mic. Get your mic up.
It's just that shit was kind of crazy. I just don't like playing consolation games, especially when other good games are going on that I would want to watch.
Yeah, I think that's totally cockamamie.
You reminded me, Ben. Do you actually remember our first matchup as players?
No. Sorry.
Okay, first, fuck you, and second,
was it at Pro Champs last year?
No.
What happened?
It was Pro Champs. I don't even know. Pro Champs like the year before in New York.
Oh.
In New York, you know those fields like kind of surrounded by the woods.
Yeah.
Playing patrol.
Oh.
Patrol. It was 1 point. I guarded you 1 point. It was like the first point. I was like, I was like, I know what he's going to do. He's going to take a step deep, go under because you were initiating for Jimmy. And I was like, I'm going to fucking blow up that under. And you went deep, under, and then double move deep, and you probably had me by like 10 fucking steps. And Jimmy threw a fucking like first throw goal, and that was it. We didn't win a fucking game at that tournament. And actually, this is a funny story. We go 0 for 5 at that tournament. We were supposed to have like a 3-hour bye before we play Machine. And I was still in high school, or maybe had just graduated freshman year of college. And I was like, fuck this. I'm smoking weed in the woods. So we lose to Sub-Zero. We're supposed to have a 3-hour bye. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? I go smoke weeds in the woods. I check my phone. I look at the Slack and they're like,
we got a game right now. Come back.
Game. We talked to Machine. We moved it up 2 hours. We're playing like field 6. I start to walk out of the woods. The field is right in front of me. I have to walk back into the woods like 100 yards down through the trees. So I come out so that no one can see me. I go grab my shit from the Sub-Zero sideline the game before and go back to play fucking Machine. I remember like I was so like emotional to play the game at like 0-5 that I almost cried like out of like happiness, like happy tears of like holy shit. But yeah, that was the first time we played against each other. And
I'm sorry. I should remember that one. My bad, kid.
Dude, I can't believe you did it. Like, you don't even remember like toasting that kid like way back in the day on patrol.
The high school kid.
That shit was crazy. But also, like, as going back to that was crazy tangent that you reminded me of. But going back to the super conference, I think they should do that for AUDL as well. Like, it should be conferences. I think conferences just have like however you want to fucking break them up, and then figure some shit out where. Like, I mean, Minnesota did well, especially because they were at home and stuff this year. So, like, they did play, like, a lot better than I thought they would. But there should be a better way to figure out how to get, like, the top teams there for a little bit. And I know, like, they probably want to avoid more travel and, like, that kind of stuff. But I think there's something there. And it'll just be a better product, too. Like, and more hyped teams, like, at the thing.
And there's
Like, that Central
about,
Division should have to play someone else to, like, go to championship weekend.
Yeah. There's something about I like the idea of conferences too, and like in the NBA or in the NFL
Right.
or in any of the major sports, like having conferences, like it's a big deal to win your conference.
Totally.
And if you could just make it one weekend, that would be great. Like
Totally.
it's just one game and it's the championship game. Like all the West teams are flying to all their games anyway. I don't know.
Yeah, literally. No, in the NBA, the divisions don't even fucking matter. Like, I don't even know who's in the Sixers divisions because like it like serves. I don't even like know what the fucking point of it is other than
That's a good point. They just do conference standings.
like in other sports it's different. Like NFL, like the division is like everything because you're also playing less games. But
yeah, but like again, it would benefit you guys if you got to play like I was gonna say the Texas teams, but if you got to play like
fuck that, man.
Whoever the good teams are, like Austin, or got to go up and play like a Minnesota every once in a while.
Or I'd love to play at DC. Like we'll never play at DC. We'll never. No one will. No one will fucking see. Or in Atlanta, like those. And especially as it keeps growing, like I think what you guys did was big because that was like the most exciting. Like because I was getting to the point. It was only my second year, but like it gets to the point where like going like first year, there's like some butterflies. It's like. Yeah, like going to play Portland, like kind of cool. But yeah, like when I'm even in year 2, I'm starting to get to the point where it's like I don't want to go play Portland in Seattle. Like what? Like it's not exciting. There's no one, and not only that, no one's gonna fucking be there. So it's not even like I'll shit on whoever if you put like 1,000 people in the stands. Like I'll shit on. You could put high schoolers out there. I'll lay out DM. I'll sky them. I'll spike it on them. You just give me some people to watch. But like with that, it's not fun to just like beat up on those. It becomes like that's when it's like a job. Like it's less of like we're doing this and it's fun. It's more of like a job.
Well, one of our ideas, we were talking a little bit about it on Empire at some point. It'd be fun to do like the Premier League relegation too, or conferences or something. But something. I'd love for something to change because this is it's just not as fun to be like, we're gonna. So go stomp.
You are getting bored after all. Ben, it turns out.
Well, no, just in general.
I'd get bored too playing fucking Montreal.
We got to play Atlanta and DC twice, and then you guys and Salt Lake. Like we had a great year. We had like the best, most fun year we've had in a while. As far as competitive games, but playing like
Ottawa,
playing Toronto. And Montreal, like those teams aren't competitive at the moment, which is unfortunate. I think some of the rule tweaks that might make it a little different, like they're trying to balance the offense and defense. I don't think it's gonna like work right now, just because you need more talent and more buy-in. But
I also have thought about maybe the idea of like a mid-season tournament, almost like a cup, like something you would do in like soccer, and you could make it like the All-Star weekend, like mid-season tournament, and potentially you could even have like the standings. Like, in baseball they have the All-Star game and it's kind of crazy, but they still do like that decides who gets home field advantage in the World Series, which is like a pretty like random weird thing that like maybe they'll even change.
Yeah, they're just trying to motivate the players a little bit.
Totally. But like in all like a mid-season like cup where you bring like the best handful of teams, or even like, a good amount of teams, and like, because the other like one problem with the league right now is after like 3 games, like half the fucking teams are out of their division. They have absolutely nothing to play for. So that also that also is why you're getting so many fucking like shitty games, is because they're 0-5 and they're already they're out
Yeah.
of the playoff.
The best player's like, I'm just going to start playing club. I'm just going to
Right.
go to the club practice instead of
Yeah,
Right,
play.
because you're already out.
incentives.
So if you could do like a cup, or like maybe you had to qualify for the cup, and so like, you know, that at least gives you something to play for. Like these teams, if they're 0-3, they're like they're done. Like Portland, it was like the same thing.
I think a fun idea too, you know, lots of different ideas. Another fun idea for like a midseason cup would be like to just play games to like 5. And you have a series of games to 5. You could play it like throughout the day.
Ooh, I like that. I've like the sort of the tennis match style instead.
Yeah.
Like a
and if
best
you're
of
losing
series.
one, you can just be like, all right, we're just gonna like let them have this one, and then we're gonna fight for the next breaks or whatever. Or like like something you could play like a lot of short games against different teams or something. But
just
there
to
has
mix
to be
it
something
up.
to spice it up. I think.
Yeah.
Some of these games aren't as fun though.
Wait, when you mentioned rule changes that are balancing O and D, what did you mean by that? Are you talking about like after timeouts?
Well, that, but I mean, moving to
The
pull
polling
was a different.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think I wonder. Like, I've heard about shot clocks. I don't know that the league is
actually,
do this, but like,
I'll segue quickly for you.
Let's hear it.
Fan question from IDJ Whitman asks,
Yeah, women.
Should the AUDL add a shot clock? So continue.
So nice, yeah, good segue. I think it could be a good idea. I think there's a few different rule changes that could benefit like the defense versus offense, and one of them is shortening the stall a little bit at the All-Star weekend. I think it was a 5-second stall last year. So that maybe would make a difference. I think the shot clock, you don't even have to make it, in my opinion, you wouldn't have to make it like shorter than the average offensive possession, but just a little bit. So like there are times when you're up, like we did at championship weekend this year and last year, where we were up a few breaks and we're like, okay, we're just gonna like play a 4-minute point. We're just gonna throw, and we don't care. And we can after that many minutes, you can just kind of throw at will and score. Which I'm not totally sure why that doesn't happen all the time, but suffice to say, I think a shot clock could be really beneficial.
That'd be fun. Also just play keep away more often. Just like fuck around with teams.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that with the shot clock.
Yeah, you couldn't.
You can't with the shot clock, but you could now. Like currently,
you
could. It's like running the ball, baby. Just run the ball. Fuck it.
That's exactly what we did. We were like, all right, let's just possess. And I think we ran like 3 or 4 minutes off the clock against Chicago last year. Yeah, we did the same thing when we were up last couple.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
It's not fun to watch though. So it wouldn't be fun. Like all my friends and family are like, that's boring. Like we don't want to see that. And the shot clock would be like, okay, you know, you can take some calculated shots with 0 seconds left. You know, that makes it a little different.
I think we were down 20-21 against LA or something, and we pulled to them. And I remember after the game, Pablo was like, "I can't believe you pulled it to us." Although that's a little bit different situation because that was like literally only 10 seconds left. But if there's like a situation where you're down by 1 and there's a minute left, I could like having a shot clock would be nice in that situation.
Yeah. And you also referenced the post timeout rules. I think after you score, calling a timeout, like getting to pull it from half field would be cool. Or like the Callahan turns into you get the disc back, sort of like a safety.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would like more. I don't think I like the full line change. At first, I liked it a lot, but I'm not a fan of specialists as much.
I like it.
The other rule I'd like is a designated puller. You just have somebody.
Cool.
You have somebody pull,
DP.
and then they can walk off the field.
That's interesting. The DP.
Yeah. I was talking to some people about this, you know, broadcaster, like, you know, I talked to like the league execs, you know, like there's the shot clock. I don't think is going to happen because the refs can't manage a normal game clock. But I think what's more realistic is a backcourt where you can't go backwards. And I even think it should be not only like a backcourt at midfield, I think you could just put it at each brick so you have 3 lines that once you pass that zone, you can't go back. And I think that's a more it's easier to integrate and less work on the official, because then they can just look at a yard mark and be like, okay, you can't, once you've passed it, you can't go back.
Okay, no offense, but that is, and I don't necessarily disagree, but if our refs can't manage a shot clock like any like middle school kid working the board can,
For basketball,
we've got a problem with.
We do have a
refs.
problem
And
with refs, though.
I think
we do have a problem. We do have a problem.
But that's such a low bar. We should be holding our refs to a much higher standard.
But it's because these refs, it's not like if this was the ref's job, then I'd say fuck yeah. But this ref is pulling up to the Friday game after like teaching like school or like whatever like their day job is, and then like I don't even I just honestly I wonder, like I think it'd be fun to have like a ref or like an observer on here sometime. I've been saying for a little, because I don't know like what it looks like their like preparation and like that. I mean, I'm sure it's a spectrum, but
we have a little insight because Frito he lives just down the street from me, and he's one of the lead of, well, I don't know what the official title is, but he does a lot of trainings with the refs, and he and Hank Carey, who lives in Denver area, are both sort of top observers, as well as quickly becoming top refs. So they're making strides to training the refs, but it's far from perfect.
I think that's another thing we need, which to me was really evident after I got ejected for the triple spike. You just need a consistency across the whole thing. Like, it happens in NFL and NBA games too, where they're like, it's, they're letting them play or whatever.
Yeah, it's like the specific crew. Like there's like an officiating crew that they have in those leagues.
There's some flexibility within that, but as long as they consistently do it across the whole game, along with some baseline, again, I'll advocate for myself and just say, like, the triple spike is not ejectable offense, in my opinion. I told him after the game, I was like, guys, you have to tell me beforehand, like, you got to stop. Like, you can't just go, all right, you're out of here. It's like, you saw it happening. Like, 100%. You have to come up and be like, stop. So in my mind, like, it was cool. It was very cool that Bryce Mel was like, yes,
that was a cool
one in the game.
Bryce.
But in the first place, I shouldn't have been ejected, because spiking it's an unsportsmanlike, sure.
Right.
Wasn't a kind thing for me to do.
It's not a double flagrant.
Yeah, but it wasn't a double. It was a single flagrant probably, but all right. And so that sort of level of consistency where it's like everyone should know these are the baseline like things you should get kicked out for. You swing.
Our very first AUDL game was at Seattle in 2022, and
oh man,
Declan, 18-year-old Declan literally spears Alex Tatum Plow into the back. No foul at all.
Yeah.
So the consistency part very much resonates with me.
Right. It's like you got to know like where you're going and how they call the games. Like I swear, you're going to Oakland. Like, let's go, baby. Yeah. Put your pads on. Put your hat on. Like we're going. We're going. We're going to battle. This is physical. Like it's because the refs let a lot more stuff up. Like that's just how it goes. And honestly, it's just harder to play because like it's like you don't know what. I mean, like right, like a little bit of obviously like different people are gonna call games differently, but like it's like it varies so much.
All right. Speaking of shot clocks, we're at the 90-minute mark and do probably have to let Ben go soon, and I have to wrap a few things up as well in my day. But we have a few more fan questions that I could ask. Kins, is there anything else you want to bring up before we end?
No, let's head into the fan questions.
All right. This is a funny one from Manny Eckert, who shout out Manny for being a consistent listener in our small but growing fan base.
Yes.
He asks, what's with his weird habit of patting opponents' faces while resolving a call?
It's not a habit. It happens twice. It was something I was working on.
When does it become a habit?
Well, yeah. One is a data point, 2 is a line, 3 is a trend.
4 is a habit.
Yeah, 4 is a habit. Okay, but it was something I was experimenting with last year to like diffuse.
Diffuse
physicality. Yeah, I was just like
diffuse
physicality.
physicality.
Again, this has been universally derided as a horrible idea. And
Workshop. You're workshopping.
I did it practice a couple of times, and it was like, oh, it really worked. Like it was just like, whoa, that was funny. I did to my now teammate on Pony Vinay Balsaraj, and he was like, well, what the heck was that? And then I did it to Noah Coolman on Sockeye last year.
Yeah, Noah.
And he was, he practically threw punches at me, which again is fine. Like he's a hothead, I get it. I didn't think it was that big a deal. I thought you could have said stop, but again, I don't fault him for his reaction.
He's cool, man, not hot, man.
Yeah, now I know that's a bad way to.
I feel like that is so far from diffuse. Like if anyone ever patted me on the face,
I didn't know, but how did nobody give you better feedback before you tried this in the game?
We might be fighting. I'll be honest. We might just be fighting at that point.
Anyway, so Manny, it's dead. It's no longer a habit. Right. It's not happening anymore. It didn't happen after our game.
Tried and failed.
That is so funny.
Sockeye last year.
Okay. Tucker Hoffman asks, do you regret leaving Imperial for sub in 2015?
That's a good question. So a little background on this. Tucker is one of my old teammates on sub or on Imperial, and we were friends with a bunch of the guys. Me and Connor Klein. Actually, I don't know if you guys know Connor.
I do know Connor. Yeah. I know of him.
Yeah, we had played Imperial the year before, and then had gotten recruited by the captains of sub that year, who were Simon Montague and I forget exactly who else, maybe Josh Klain, a few others. And they said, come play sub and, you guys will get a lot better. And we were like, no, well, we took that and went back to Imperial and we're like, hey, what's the plan? Are we going to be good? Are we going to have like numbers at practice? This is a classic like second tier team. And they were like, yeah, we're going to like be really serious this year. And we got, like a month and a half into the season, and it was very sparsely attended practices, and it was just not as fulfilling as we thought it would be, sort of being the underdog trying to fight to win. And so we left and we moved to Sub-Zero.
You left mid-season.
We left mid-season. Well, technically it was right before Colorado Cup, so that's still pretty early season.
That's super early, yeah.
Yeah, so we went anyway. So like I said, like 6 or 7 weeks or something into after tryouts and on, and we made a lot of bad blood from that, and that was a bit tough. It was one of my regrets at the time, but I think I wouldn't be the player I was without having jumped ship. And this is the advice I give to young players all the time now. I just say, like, play as high level as you can, as much as you can, if you want to be the best player you can be.
Totally. That does remind me of a question that I was thinking about, which is like, do you feel like your future is pretty stationary in New York? I mean, you say you're a competitor, however, like, I don't know. I mean, you're just like, you're kind of like Kevin Durant in a lot of ways, just like on these super teams, maybe you want to go and like.
I was here before Jimmy came. I was on Empire when we didn't even make the playoffs.
No, it's true. It's true. You actually are.
Empire.
Yeah, it's true. No, it's true. And from that perspective, maybe more like Jack is like a Kevin Durant, but but more to the point of like, do you think, do you ever crave a little, or would anything in life take you to another place in time and space?
That's a good question. I think probably not. I'm marrying my fiance in a
Congratulations.
month and a half, or a little less than, and she's from New York area through and through. So probably going to be sticking out there for a while, but I had a pretty transient, mobile youth, and I do think moving around a little bit here and there might be fun, but you know, we'll have conversations about that in the future. But
So both the brothers
really
are getting
do like-
married this week.
That's
this
what I was
summer.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Two
this
yacht
year,
weddings.
Yeah. Yep. It's the summer of marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, these other fan questions. Sorry, fans. I'm gonna actually skip because we've talked about spiking enough.
Just read it.
But
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Okay, we have both Sloth Jackson and let me open this up. Jerry Swider asked how many spikes is enough or how many spikes is too many.
Okay.
You know, it'd be
we'll
a
leave it up to your
funny. You
imagination.
know, what would be
Yeah.
a funny ad is you remember what was the lollipop commercials with the
Yeah, how
owl?
many
where it's like
bites to get to the
Tootsie.
sandwich?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
the top?
How many
One,
spikes?
two.
A one, a two. That would be like a really funny short
That'd be a
video.
deep cut. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
But I have a fan question.
Let's hear it.
Who's your favorite thrower that you've played with
There's
to
a
cut
lot
deep
of-
for?
I mean, Jimmy is the best deep thrower in the history of Ultimate, I think, at this point. So he makes it really easy. But Harper and Sean are also really good. Two underrated throwers, I think. Maybe not underrated, but throwers who are really fun to have played with are Josh Klein, who's just really silky with his throwing form. It just comes out of his hand really well. And then Simon Montague also has, a buttery high release flick, which is really
He's a
I'm
smooth thrower.
shocked.
And then
I'm shocked.
Ryan Osgard. Too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like,
I think we were all waiting for Ryan.
whoa.
And you played college with him.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah,
the
I
best
thought that was going to
thrower
be
in
your
the game
number
right now,
one.
I think, like currently, I think he has better throws than anyone out there.
I do too. I think his deep, maybe he doesn't have quite the range that Jimmy does, but I think it's a better ball.
He's got those angles down, man. But
So
this always surprises me is like, and Ryan is like one of those people that makes it, look rudimentary, but like the placement of the hucks and like the edge of getting them to like tail off nice and like flat, but like to the break side, it's like I watch so many players like still just like throw basic hucks down the line, and I feel like we should be at a point where like if you're high level, you understand that like you're aiming towards the middle of the field, if not to like the far side of the field. And like I just like honestly, it's one of like my pet peeve things now where I see it and I'm like, what are we doing?
I think Ryan should have the same influence that like Steph Curry has on changing like how people throw. I think kids should be practicing throwing with edge like all the time now. Like it's so fun to throw a backhand. It just sits and helixes and then helixes back, and it feels really good. Kins, I'm boring you, man. This is like this.
Dude, this is
on.
Oh man, come on!
He's a yawner. He always yawns in front of our guests.
I'm yawning, man. I mean, plus like this is day one shit for me, dude. I've been throwing it like that since I was fresh out the womb.
Well, anyway, everyone should be throwing with edge now. People should stop throwing like flat flick hooks, flat backhand hooks. You should start putting with edge.
Yeah,
throwing
control
it fast
the edge
with edge.
Totally.
Getting it there faster.
He gets the way he does it though. He gets it out quick, and it does shape back where kind of it does sit at the end, just a little bit.
Tabletops.
What about Jack? Is Jack up there at all for you?
Yeah, he doesn't throw deep as much though.
He doesn't.
Been pretty consistent, like in the handler space.
He's more the athlete, yeah. But he does uncork those backhands every once in a while. Like he can rip it, like that one we were talking about earlier. But yeah, it's like sneaky, and then every once in a while he'll just like rip some shit. Or like I even think about it, in his UNCW one where like every once like especially like late in that game against UNC when he wanted to take over, he just uncorked a few backhands. So you're like, so he does got it. It's in the bag for sure.
He do still got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I had two more questions in my head. I fucking cannot remember what they were. They were nerdy ones similar to this. But maybe my final question will be, who do you think is gonna win the club this year? You can pick Pony, obviously. And who do you think is the biggest? Who are the contenders?
I think ponies should win, but winning is hard, and you have to get a little lucky sometimes. Sometimes you can play a bad game when other people play their best. But obviously, I hope Pony wins. I think we have the depth to be it this year. If I were a betting person, I would say odds
Pony
are
or the
us.
field?
For sure.
I don't know that
Odds-on
I would
favorite.
say greater than 50%, but I think as far as individual teams, we'd be
Yeah.
up there.
You'd be the favorites. You'd honestly, it might even be like minus money right now.
Do you think this is the best roster on paper of all time?
Yes.
I'm nodding yes in
I
agreement.
agree. Especially if you take in inflation. Is that just like a way to say that like the game is getting better? I think makes sense.
You put this team on the field with, again, we have a lot of growing to do throughout the rest of the year, but you put this team on the field with some of those revolver teams. Again, I wasn't around to see them, so I don't know for sure, but I've talked to some of the teammates who have been and were and winning national championships back when revolver was in their heyday, and pretty firm consensus that this is right up there.
Yeah. Yeah. If I were to pick a weakness, it would just be that Jimmy is not in his prime anymore. But
it's like, who cares when everyone else is so good? The thing I love about these stack teams is even as you move down into the D lines, the disc skills are still so good. It's such a classic ultimate thing that the D line gets it and you're like, are they gonna score? Are they gonna be able to? And it just looks so different when these types of depth teams get the ball because it's insane.
Jagt is out there playing D line. It's like, how did
Jack
he
and
get so lucky to put the best?
And I think John because I mean you guys have so many good players, and then part of it's just because he's in my age group too. But I think John is slept on as probably one of the most impactful players that you guys have on the roster, especially because he just is I will play D line and I will be a really good defender, but I will also be amazing when we get the disc. And it's just he's was coming out of college. Obviously, he's one of the best offensive players in the world, and now he's just still that, but it's on a D line. And then I remember we're playing you guys, and it's it might even be, I don't know if Mott was on your your D1 line or your D2 line, but there's lefty scoobers coming out to the break side, and you're this is not a normal D line. That's the type of shit that you have normal patterns from playing Ultimate, and when Mott is out there throwing lefty scoobers, it's breaking a pattern that you're not used to, and it's just what the fuck is going on?
Totally. I feel very fortunate to be able to play on this team. We are really, really good. I could go.
No, you're too good, man. Go
Are you playing O or D? Do you know yet?
I have been playing offense. I would be happy to play defense if I need it, but I think I'll probably end up playing offense.
Maybe that'll be the final question, is because what we try to do is give people insight on mentality, basically. And I think most people think of offense as the more glorious side. We've typically had more offensive type players on the pod, but you've played both at a high level. What's your read and take on the mentality shift and why you might want to play D over O as a player?
That's a really good question. It's something I've noodled on for a while after getting shifted to D line last year. I think playing offense, I equate it to a dance. It sort of feels like you're moving in harmony with people, and like I said earlier, you want to be on the same page and having this kind of mind meld and moving at the same time, clearing when they're not, opening up space, et cetera, et cetera. And D line feels a lot more like you're a rabid animal, just trying to get a D. And I think it's really hard to play offense when you are in that mindset, and playing defense when you're in the offensive sort of flowy mindset is really hard. So I think a mindset shift of being able to easily oscillate between the two would be a really beneficial thing to have, and is probably like the next evolution of the game mentally, is having those players. And like I think we have those players on our lines. Like we were just singing their praises,
like Jack and John. Yeah,
Jack and JR, and Antoine has been playing phenomenally. We got Jabron, Conrad, Schlor, like guys who would make any team in the country, probably, let alone like World Games teams. Anyway, so yeah, I think that shift is a really difficult thing to balance and lock in for both sides, but if you can, that's like a superpower.
Fuck, I did want to ask you about World Games and your thoughts on that. I forgot about that. We had talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Because you tried out for the
salty?
team, yeah?
Are you
You
salty?
tried out. Do you think did they give you a reason? Is it because you're
They can't say
a
that because
villain
you're
that's not a villain?
No, they didn't say that. I think at that level it doesnst matter. Like they just want people to win. But what does matter is that we had 4 players on the team from New York already. We had
You trash talking Jimmy at practice
Chris,
now about
Jimmy, Grant, or Jack Hatchett,
Holy
who was
cow,
on
you
Tony that
guys
year
have-
before, and Grant.
yeah,
Or sorry, Jack was around New York. So I think I forget who it was, but somebody said like Maddie saying, the coach said,
yeah.
we're not going to take more than 4 Fury players
From
We're not
one
gonna take
team.
more than 4 New York players. So unfortunately, maybe the best thing for my chances of making the team, I think I had a very good tryout, but I guess not as good as those other guys. I was told that the alternates they took were like all around players.
And what are
I thought I
you?
had a
Not
really
all
good-
around?
Well, I don't have the throws that a lot of those guys have,
Right.
so I agree. But I just think
Rafi's got the throw straight out the back of the end zone.
yeah, for my role,
Yeah.
I think I would have been the best choice, but that's just me.
Especially like Goff. Like, I mean, Goff is great though. Goff is real good, but just as that big man role, it's that interesting. And Oscar's an interesting one too, because I feel like
He
I mean,
didn't try out.
Oh, he did not try out.
Well, he tried out, but he got injured like in warm-ups day 1.
Oh, okay,
of
I didn't know
round
that.
one.
Okay,
So
I
he
didn't know
kinda got
that.
screwed, but
You
Yeah.
would you sky Goff on a 50-50?
yeah, I think
For
don't
a
know,
second,
like,
your face
Goff-
made it look like you were gonna say something like not like that, and then you're like, yeah. Which is like,
course.
how
Goff-
could you not have that mindset though?
Goff is a good player, but you got to bet on yourself. I think I would have been a plus.
That's what
but
I'm saying, man.
not
Throw
just-
that shit up. Throw
yeah.
it up.
Yeah, they don't trust you, kids.
God damn it.
We
God
don't
damn
trust
it.
you, kid.
See, I look fine right now, but wait till I'm spiking my fucking monitor right after this
Foaming at the
podcast
mouth.
ends. Yeah.
Going
The
to go
phone is
live.
coming up.
We think this is funny, but I'm about to put an Amazon order in for another monitor because I just broke mine behind the scenes.
And
All right,
I
guys.
think that, yeah,
I
that's a
gotta
great
bounce,
note
yeah.
to end on. All right, thanks for joining us, Ben. Take care.
Thanks for
We'll see
having
you.
me.
Hopefully,
That is
at
not
the
a good
national.
note to end on. Fuck
right.
this.
I'll send you something, kid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
peace out,
love it.
everybody.
Good shit, man. See ya.
All right, see you.